And now it's time for the new normal with Professor Know-It-All.
Well, Max, from the moment Christ ascended to the Father, he left the church as his representative body on earth. Individual believers had both authority and responsibility for one another, as well as sharing the gospel and making new disciples. It took about 1,000 years for that community of believers, which started out meeting house to house, to turn into a system of dominant ecclesiastical hierarchy. The church had become a power structure, dominating the lives of believers rather than proclaiming the liberty of Christ. The first church split, known as the Great Schism, occurred around 1000 AD, dividing the one church into two as church leaders jockeyed for power and influence. The Eastern Orthodox Church, based in Constantinople, ruled over half of Christendom, while the Roman Catholic Church ruled over the other half. Over time, the power and might of the Roman Church came not only to dominate a great deal of the masses of humanity, the Roman Church also came into alignment with and control of many of the crowns and thrones which ruled the world at that time. The Roman Church encouraged conversion through brutal measures like the Crusades, the Inquisition, and witch hunts. It took about half that long, or 500 years, for the next church split to occur. Around 1500 AD, Martin Luther, seeking to reform the Roman Catholic Church, nailed his protest to the doors of the Wittenberg Cathedral. Luther believed the church needed to return to a simpler, more scripturally based belief system, where grace rather than church tradition would be the rule. Luther's protests were not well received, but he did manage to inadvertently start an entirely new expression of the Christian faith, the Protestants. The Protestant Church grew alongside Catholicism for about 250 years, and as it did, many factions developed. Some embraced a more traditional expression of faith, others did not, but all began to redevelop the hierarchical system of authority, relegating the personal responsibility and authority of the individual believer back to the institution. At the end of that 250 years, in the mid-1700s, realizing that the institutional approach to church had failed yet again, the Wesley brothers brought forth a new expression of Christian faith which placed Bible basics, personal holiness, and personal evangelism as the priority. That evangelical movement is the basis for a large part of the Christian community in existence today. During the ensuing 300 years, a wide variation of Christian expression, from revivalist crusades to the charismatic movement, has grown into a very large new normal. The new normal finds that Roman Catholicism is still the largest denomination around the world, boasting 1.2 million members, while the Eastern Orthodox Church claims about 230 million members. The Protestant Church claims about 800 million adherents worldwide. Many of the old-line Protestant denominations like Lutheran, Baptist, Methodist, and Presbyterian number around 350 million. They've had to make some tough decisions as to whether they would continue in traditionalism or shift into a new normal, a more modern stream of worship expression favored by younger generations. The modern Protestant churches, including Pentecostals, the Restoration Movement, African-initiated churches, Seventh-day churches, and non-denominational evangelical congregations, number around 274 million. These have each in their own way attempted to once again put scriptural standards first while embracing congregational freedom of expression rather than denominational traditions in worship. Another new normal is the so-called seeker-sensitive movement, which takes great pains to make sinners and the lost feel as at home as possible in congregational settings, many times removing images of Jesus or the cross as well as references to sin and hell. Some congregations have even chosen to include secular music in their services. Another new normal has been congregations specialized to pander to specific demographics, like cowboys, bikers, skateboarders, outdoorsmen, or artists, for example. Another new normal is the embrace of church-ertainment, employing big production, plenty of activities, self-improvement messages, Starbucks attitude, and Abercrombie style. Another new normal is the formation of congregations which have jettisoned many basic traditional biblical values and morals in favor of a broader, more accepting belief structure which conforms to cultural rather than scriptural norms. There are literally dozens more, including the emergent church, ancient future church, and postmodern church, to name a few. In any event, the church still tends to be viewed as an institution which exists to benefit the believer, rather than a community made up of all believers which exists to represent the person of Jesus and the will of God on earth. And that's the new normal, Max.